The digital ledger has become a primary battlefield of the 21st century. From thousands of miles away, an adversary's bank account can be frozen, halting the movement of an entire military as effectively as a physical naval blockade. This is the mechanism of economic sanctions, coercive diplomatic tools that deny economic relations to force a change in a target nation's behavior or limit its military capabilities. These restrictions are divided into two categories. Primary sanctions forbid direct trade between the issuing country and the target. Secondary sanctions go further, forcing third parties worldwide to make a choice: stop transacting with the sanctioned nation or lose access to the United States market and the US dollar. In a world defined by extreme economic integration, financial isolation has emerged as a formidable tool of statecraft, capable of paralyzing a nation's military-industrial base without a single cross-border troop movement. This dominance relies on the hidden plumbing of the global economy. Because the US dollar is involved in nearly 90% of all global foreign exchange transactions, the majority of the world's currency exchanges must eventually route through the American financial system. The second major choke point is SWIFT, or the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. SWIFT is not a bank, and it does not hold money. Instead, it is a secure messaging network, a global postal service, transmitting 42 million payment instructions every day between 11,000 financial institutions. Following the events of September 11, the U.S. government realized that exploiting this centrality allowed them to systematically track and blacklist adversaries by monitoring the flow of funds through these digital checkpoints. Controlling this digital ledger allows a sovereign actor to blind a nation's banks, cutting off the secure, automated instructions required to process remittances or settle international trades. In 2012, the United States and the European Union initiated a coordinated financial siege against Iran to halt its nuclear program. This strategy involved two massive strikes: a strict European embargo on Iranian oil and the forced disconnection of major Iranian banks from the SWIFT network. Without the ability to process international payments, Iran's crude oil exports plummeted, crashing from 2.5 million barrels a day to 700,000. As this revenue evaporated, the internal fallout was severe. Inflation climbed to 45%, destroying the stability of the middle class. This 2012 escalation demonstrated that by severing a nation from the global financial plumbing, a coalition could systematically dismantle a major economy from the inside out. Following the 2022 invasion of Ukraine, the Western coalition applied this weapon to Russia, then the world's 11th largest economy. The first phase of the strike involved freezing nearly half of the Russian central bank's $630 billion in foreign exchange reserves. These are the emergency funds a country keeps in foreign currencies to protect its own economy. By locking them in foreign jurisdictions, the West made Russia's own savings inaccessible. The second phase involved the mass disconnection of Russian banking institutions from SWIFT, severing the communication lines necessary for their massive energy and commodity exports. The shockwave was immediate. Domestic markets saw a sudden crash of the ruble, forcing the central bank to double interest rates to 20% and impose strict capital controls, laws that restrict how much money citizens can move out of the country. This coordinated blockade turned the global payment system against one of its largest participants, aiming to immediately restrict the capital Russia needed to sustain its military operations. However, this strategy creates a long-term risk. Every time the financial system is weaponized, it forces targeted nations to build a war economy and adapt to survive. Russia's primary countermeasure was the expansion of SPFS, or the System for Transfer of Financial Messages. This is Russia's own interbank messaging network, built to keep domestic and allied trade flowing completely independent of Western messaging infrastructure. Simultaneously, China has accelerated the development of CIPS, the cross-border interbank payment system. Unlike SWIFT, which only sends messages, CIPS is a clearing and settlement system designed to process international trade directly in Chinese yuan. The adoption of this alternative plumbing is expanding. In 2024, CIPS processed over 175 trillion yuan, as nations in Africa and the Middle East joined the network to ensure their trade remained insulated from the threat of secondary sanctions. Through this axis of evasion, heavily sanctioned regimes have successfully constructed a parallel financial reality, effectively operating outside the reach of the Western-led order. This is accelerating a shift toward de-dollarization. Today, nearly 90% if the financial system itself has been repurposed as a tool of war, the final result is a fractured world, where adversaries build their own impenetrable financial fortresses to escape it.